It's the Friday News Roundup. PECO says it wants to raise prices again, but it's also dealing with some labor disputes. Another plane crash happened in the Northeast. Have you noticed our neighborhoods are getting spruced up? And why is Philly losing another sports team? It's Friday, April 3rd. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week at the Filler Club is CityCast Philly senior producer Abby Fritz. Hey, Abby.
Happy Friday, Trenae.
Happy Friday. But it's not really like the best of days. A lot of prices for like everything is going up. Gas prices and our utility bills. We've been talking about this on the podcast for months. And now PECO wants to raise prices again?
Yeah, and they had just increased prices like a year ago, and now the company is asking for another increase to fund some long-term infrastructure updates to their systems.
Okay, let me just be honest, all right? The first wave of like price increases, I've like turned off everything. Like I use the sun for everything to light everything up. Only at like night, I'm like, okay, I don't even put the porch light on anymore. It's like, we're just gonna do this stuff in darkness.
You've got mirrors, you've got things set up to bounce stuff
There's
around.
There's one light bulb left in the bathroom and it's flickering. I'm like, I'm just not changing it.
You're like, every time it flicks, I save a couple cents.
All right, so, but all of this, in seriousness, all of this has to be approved before PECO can actually raise up the price, right?
Yeah, they have to file a request with the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission before the increase could happen for sure. Mm-hmm. But if it is approved, residential electric prices could go up by about $20 a month. And if you use natural gas, it would be about a $15 increase per month. This wouldn't go into effect until January 1st of next year. But I mean, thinking about $20 more a month, that's not an insignificant amount of money. That's like $240 a year.
Yeah, so before you talk to me about the infrastructure changes that they're trying to make or update, so to speak, I mean, I definitely want to point out, though, that when there is a storm, especially a bad storm, we don't have a lot of power outages in the city. So I could see, where they're saying that the money is going towards to make sure that, the city is still powered. So talk to me a little bit about some of the actual infrastructure changes that they want to make.
Yeah, they're just trying to upgrade aging infrastructure. So things that just get broken with time, but then also they're trying to prepare for more extreme weather as the years go on, since these types of instances could become more common. They're trying to expand some assistance programs as well for lower income residents. But some specific repairs that would happen in Philly, the company told NBC 10 about some plans for Overbrook. They want to invest $56 million in a new substation that would bring more dependable service to over 17,000 customers in the area. Then in Center City, they plan to put $52 million to retire the Mall and Lombard substations and then modernize the electric system to support customers out there. There wasn't a timeline given for when those things could happen, so it could be down the road. But that's where they're saying this money is going to go.
It looks like the Utility Commission will be reviewing this over the next few months, and there's going to be public hearings scheduled for June if you want to voice your feelings about the proposal. PECO's also been in the news this week, Abby, not only for this proposal for a price hike, but because the union that represents the company's workers, they didn't come to an agreement about their contract that had expired on Tuesday midnight.
Yeah. And at the beginning of the week, we weren't sure if they were going to come to some sort of agreement. And if they didn't, if that would mean that workers would be off the job and like how that would affect PECO and how it ran. But even though the contract expired, everybody is still working. It does seem like the negotiations are a bit heated. I read in a WHYY article that the union IBEW Local 614, which represents some PECO workers, says that the company is not bargaining in good faith, and they filed an unfair labor practice complaint to the National Labor Relations Board on Tuesday because of this.
So what is the union asking for, and how is PECO responding?
Yeah, the union is asking for higher wages, improved healthcare benefits, and for pensions to be restored. PECO says they're working towards a fair and equitable contract, but didn't provide any specifics of how they're doing that. So we'll see how this all shakes out.
All right, we've got more news after the break. There was a small plane crash this week in the Tarsdale neighborhood. Two passengers departed from the Northeast Philadelphia airport around 3 p.m. on Wednesday, later crashing in a park at Grant and Torresdale Avenues. Both people were conscious after the crash and rushed to the hospital. They both survived the crash. And this comes a little over a year after the tragic plane crash in the Northeast, where a medical jet had crashed and left all 6 people on board dead and killing 2 people who were on the ground. Dozens of people were injured. There was tremendous damage in the area, and people are still dealing with injuries caused by that crash. And the case is still being investigated by the Federal Aviation Administration.
Before last year, there hadn't been a plane crash in Philadelphia since 2014. And even then, that plane crash happened like at the airport. It was because a flight was trying to take off and lost control and crashed. But I also just, my heart goes out to the Northeast because I mean,
Absolutely.
like to have 2 crashes back to back, 2 years in a row, the community must just feel so on edge. And I mean, this comes at a time of rising concerns about air traffic safety in general. We talked last week on the Friday News Roundup about the lines at the airport and ICE being deployed to PHL while the government is partially shut down. There have been other crashes in the past few years around the country that have raised a lot of concerns, like the one in DC last year. It just people are not feeling great from what I've heard about flying and about flight safety.
This week, TSA employees received paychecks paying back a few weeks worth of money that they were owed after President Trump signed an emergency order. And yesterday, Terminal C reopened at PHL. So hopefully that will kind of alleviate some of the long lines and some of the pressures that the TSA employees were feeling. But overall, yeah, like all of these stories is like, it is too much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, with everything going on in airports, it can feel scary. Last year, there were a lot of plane crashes. It was a statistical anomaly. But overall, globally, aviation is only becoming safer every year. So it is still the safest way to travel. It is still very, very rare for planes to crash. And generally, commercial flights are a lot safer than private planes, which is both planes that went down in the Northeast in the past year and a half were private, smaller planes, not like one you'd get on at the PHL airport to go to Florida or whatever. So air travel is still safe, regardless of kind of this feeling that's happening around airports right now.
And again, Abby, to the sentiments that you were saying earlier, our hearts do go out to the Northeast during this time. And I'm glad that everyone on the plane this week made it out okay. We've got more news after the break. Let's shift gears a bit. I was standing on the corner of Ridge and Hermit Street up in Roxborough. And if you know that neighborhood, y'all know it's across the street from C&C Creamery, which has like some of the best ice cream in the city.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a long line. And as the days keep getting warmer, the lines keep getting longer. But I noticed 3 large, like, black planters. They kind of also could pass for like cauldrons a little bit, but it had the Liberty Bell symbol and 250 label.
Oh, okay.
So to me, it's like the beginnings of the beautification all centered around the semi-quincentennial celebrations.
Yeah, I've started to see some of these enhancements around me as well. There's some landscaping going on at Lemon Hill, which is where the FIFA Fan Fest is going to be taking place. They're going to have events for 39 days. And it's coming up, so I'm like,
Honestly,
these
after
bulbs
Memorial
better
Day,
grow.
look, after Memorial Day, the city is just going to be like pop. Everyone's just be
Yeah.
partying. And then bars are going to be open
Yeah.
until 4 a.m. It's going to be nuts.
It's going to be crazy. So that's cool. And I feel like there's been a lot of changes at the airport. Just this week, there was 3 new art installations added. Late last year, they added a Rocky
Yes, I've
statue
seen
in there.
that.
I know Market East is meant to get some additions sometime soon. So things are like, you can see the preparations happening, which I did think maybe these preparations would have happened a little sooner.
I know,
I mean, I
right?
feel like
That's the
we're
criticism.
coming up, but
And it's interesting, too, which neighborhoods get what, like, thing.
yeah.
I haven't seen bike racks in my neighborhood, but Councilmember Anthony Phillips posted a bike rack on Wadsworth Avenue up in the Northwest. Some neighborhoods are going to get blue benches installed. So it's really interesting to see the difference
Yeah.
our neighborhoods are going to get beautified. But Siani, our newsletter editor, pointed to some of the design choices of the bench. There is a metal bar, or it could be like almost like an armrest in the middle of the bench. And she pointed out that this type of design is really intentional because there's this concept of anti-homeless or hostile architecture, and these designs are intentionally to prevent like sleeping on benches, which was a new concept to me. I was like really surprised when you guys were talking about it in our production meeting. I'm like, I had never heard of this before.
Yeah, it's really common in cities to have hostile design. And I know there's been some conversations in the past in Philadelphia, especially when benches were added to Rittenhouse Square a couple years ago. I remember this conversation coming up about hostile design. And you know, it's a choice. It's a very clear statement. I think anybody who's involved in choosing additions to the city would be aware of this concept. So I don't think it's an accident, in my opinion, to choose something like this. And, you know, these are meant to be celebratory benches. They're meant to be things that visitors see and Philadelphians see in this time of celebration. So it's sad to think that people are being purposely excluded from using these benches during this time.
Mayor Sherrell Parker signed an ordinance this week that states that some of the beautification additions that we're getting actually might not last past next year.
Huh.
Yeah, so if you look into this ordinance, it says that some of these are encroachment locations. So, for instance, in the 1st District, around North 10th Street, this area known as Vine Street Park, around the 3rd District, there's an area at 1 North 30th Street, and for another example, in the 4th District, in the vicinity of Belmont and Parkside Avenues. And so what it looks like is that in this ordinance, it says that some of these installations are actually going to be taken away after the semi-quincentennial celebration. So this is like sometime next year.
Interesting. And it seems like this is because of like really specific zoning issues. So they got like this temporary exemption to add things in places that can't remain there permanently.
Right.
That's interesting. There's only a handful of things that are going to go away after a year. So that's good that it's not like we're putting things in and then we're just going to throw them in the trash, like everything in the trash in a year. But
Right.
It also is like we're rushing to add all these great things to the city. And I really, really hope we upkeep them past just the time that visitors are going to see them. Like Philadelphians also deserve to have nice things. And remember this big celebration that happened in our city. You know, it could be a really wonderful commemorative installation for years to come as well.
think about the Ben Franklin Parkway. And what is on the Ben Franklin Parkway? Those iconic country flags. And they were put up to celebrate the bicentennial. And so I feel like there's just keep it. Just keep the planters that look like cauldrons. Just keep the blue benches.
The cauldrons will be great for Halloween.
True. And so, just keep it for years to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what's not going to stay is the Philadelphia Wings.
No.
I'm not talking about chicken wings. I'm talking about the professional lacrosse team. They're calling it quits after the season. The team announced this week that they will cease operations under the Comcast Spectacor portfolio.
Wow.
Quote, not an easy decision to make, they said. So in the coming weeks and months, players are going to be looking for new opportunities. And the Wings were one of 14 teams in the National Lacrosse League. According to the Philadelphia Voice, they have only 2 more games this season and won't qualify for any postseason action. This is really sad because lacrosse is huge. And I remember my kids had enjoyed a Wings game. My son plays lacrosse now. And it's just kind of sad to see this team, not exist anymore.
Yeah, I used to play lacrosse too. I actually almost went to college for it, which is something. But I played on the West Coast as a kid, and whenever we'd play teams from the East Coast, we'd get our butts kicked. So I was so excited to move to the East Coast and see this like kind of higher level of playing. And it's been on my bucket list to catch a Wings game, and I'm kicking myself. I need to make it to one of the last 2 games.
Well, you could, because the last home game is going to be on Saturday, April 11th at 7 p.m. down at the X. They're taking on the Las Vegas Desert Dogs. And then the last game is Saturday, April 18th. That's up in Canada, though. They're taking on the Vancouver Warriors. So you do have a bit of a chance to get in that last game. But yeah, it's kind of sad. And the Wings had a really interesting history in the city. They were one of the original professional lacrosse league teams back in 1987. This is what I read in the Philly Voice, and they relocated to Connecticut in 2014. Then they came back to Philly in 2017 to start playing their first game in 2018. And this got me thinking, Abby. I thought about other sports teams that have shuttered or relocated. There once was one of my favorite teams, the Philadelphia Phantoms, which was a minor league ice hockey team. That's gone. And I want to shout out Shibe Vintage Sports. This is a local sports apparel store here in the city. Shout out to Johnny Goodtimes. He's been a guest on the podcast. His company actually sells T-shirts and hats of former Philly teams.
That's so cool. I mean, it's looking at the website, it's such a visual trip through the history of the city's sports.
Yeah, down memory lane for some of us. I think this is going way back. So I don't know if y'all were around during the Philadelphia Stars, which was the Negro League baseball team. There was another professional hockey team. They were the Philadelphia Arrows. This was 1927 to 1935. There was another hockey team, minor league, Philadelphia Firebirds. There was a professional NFL team in the 1920s, 30s, the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. And then we had some professional women's basketball teams. Philadelphia Rage, our own Dawn Staley, was a part of that team, shuttered. And then even before the Philadelphia Rage was the Philadelphia Fox. Remember when there was conversations about Philadelphia getting a new WNBA team, and we were all trying to figure out what is the name? Just looking at this list of names, none of these names associate Philly's identity to me. But maybe this was Philly's identity back in the day. So maybe we should think outside of the box. So we were like the Philadelphia Bells, the Johns, the Broad Street Bullies, and like that
Yeah.
stuff. But maybe we need to
go.
we need to think big.
You know, when we talked at the beginning of the year about my predictions, one of my predictions was that we'd get a professional women's hockey league team, which has not happened yet. I'm holding on to hope.
Yeah.
And I'd mentioned that the team could be named the Hellbenders after the state amphibian, which is the Eastern Hellbender.
That's right.
I still think that's a sick name.
I think that's very plausible. I mean, given that there's been teams, the Philadelphia Spartans, Fury, Blazers, Bulldogs,
and even the Rage, it all feels kind of in the same vibe.
Yeah. Okay, Abby, what are you doing this weekend?
Well, Easter is this weekend, and I'm celebrating with some pastries from Fior, which is that cafe and bakery in Fishtown. I've never eaten there, and I'm really excited to try it because I love pastries. I loved baked goods, and they're doing some specials to celebrate the holiday. So I pre-ordered some Maritazzi's, which are those like brioche buns filled with whipped cream. Also bombollinis, which is like fried dough, like rolled in sugar. And they had options that are like raspberry cream or coconut filled. I got both.
Yeah.
And this is perfect timing because the James Beard Foundation announced this week the nominees for their Chef Awards, which is like the Oscars of the food world.
Yeah.
And Fior's pastry chef was nominated for Outstanding Pastry Chef or Baker. So
congrats to
them.
Right.
We had a couple other local nominees, Kalaya for Outstanding Restaurant, Emmett for Best New Restaurant, Friday, Saturday, Sunday's Lovers Bar for Outstanding Bar, and a couple chefs for the Mid-Atlantic region are representing Philly. So Jesse Ito at Royal Sushi and Izakaya, Amanda Schulman at Her Place Supper Club, Omar Tate and Sybil St. Aud Tate at Honeysuckle. So congrats to everyone.
Yes.
It's great to see our food and beverage scene getting recognized. The winners are going to be announced in June. So I'm stoked about that.
That is so cool. I'm still stuck on that raspberry cream or coconut cream filling. Oh my God.
I'll report back. You've got a packed weekend, don't you, Trinae?
Yes. Okay, so on Saturday, I'll be over at WHYY Studios giving a kind of sort of TED Talk about podcasting for their Civic News Conference. It's called Trust, Truth, and the Future of Local News. It's a Civic News Summit, and it's free. It starts today from 9 a.m. to 4:30, and the second session happens tomorrow, Saturday, same time at WHYY Studios at 150 North 6th Street. So you can expect panels and discussions centered around how newsrooms in the city are practicing civic journalism. It's going to be a room full of journalists and creators and thought leaders, that sort of thing. So I'm excited about that.
That's so cool.
Yes. Now, that's happening Saturday, and then Sunday, Easter Sunday, I got to get to church early because everybody, their grandmom's going to be in there. And I'm looking forward to spending time with my children and my family. But that's not it, Abby. Next week on Tuesday, you and I and the team will be over at the Free Library of Philadelphia for the One Book, One Philadelphia Conversation with author Celeste Ng. I am so excited to moderate this one-on-one discussion about the book, about her career in writing, and I'm going to ask her some Philly questions too. And this event really kicks off the Free Library of Philadelphia Foundation's programming that runs from April 7th through May 28th. And there's going to be tons of free events in person, online, across the other library branches in the city. The One Book, One Philadelphia conversation is going to be happening at the Parkway branch. And we're just so excited because we've been talking about this book for the last few weeks. So if you don't have the book yet, get it now. Start reading this weekend. And yeah, I'm excited about that.
I can't wait to hear the conversation you have with Celeste Ng. She's such a prolific, decorated author, and I'm sure it's going to be wonderful to listen in on you guys talking.
Yes, thank you. There's so much that kind of goes behind the scenes here at CityCast Philly, and It's a lot of work to put this show together and our newsletters. So if you love this work, if you love listening to this podcast, you love when we, talk about your neighborhood, your favorite event, the activities that you enjoy, why don't you join the neighborhood and become a CityCast Philly neighbor? You can get great perks like invited to our neighbor-only events. You get ad-free listening. Also, every week, I will shout you out, your favorite Philly business or nonprofit on the podcast. So keep them coming. Let me know. Tell me. Send us the email about what you're up to, what maybe we should look into a little bit more.
Yeah, we love engaging with our audience and with our neighbors and hearing what makes the city so special. Neighbor Dax F says, I'm Philly born and raised, so this city's a part of me, good, bad, and everything in between. As much as I complain about Philly, I love it just as much. I support CityCast Philly because I want to stay plugged into what's going on and be a part of the stories that make this city what it is. Thanks so much, Dax. We're so glad you're a part of our neighborhood, and we hope you'll become a neighbor too.
So head over to membership.citycast.fm. All right, Abby, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy those delicious pastries.
Thanks, Trinae. You too. Enjoy your packed weekend.
I know. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our senior producer is Abby Fritz. Our producer is Emma Talkoff. Our newsletter editor is Siani Colon. And our host is me, Trinae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from All the Kimonos. If you enjoyed the show, please share this with a friend, put it in the group chat. Also, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.